Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fan Fuel Motorsports Podcast. I'm Alex Harrington, and as always, I am joined by Colton Cranmore, Jared Bakaiza, and Nathan Ball. This week, we've got a special guest coming on, and that will be the driver of the car behind me's hauler. Not the actual driver, sorry, but we'll have him on a little bit later, and we'll get into that. But first, I did want to say happy birthday to one of our favorite products from the show. We talked about these guys in our sponsorship stuff last week. Today is the 80th birthday for the M&M guys. Let's go over our favorite M&Ms. I got peanut butter M&Ms. What do you guys got?
Well, I got my unbiased M&M's Crispy. I remember these came out about the 2015, which was ironically Kyle Busch's championship year. But I was still in high school at this time, and this was the big hit during the summer. M&M's Crispy. I remember the big slogans were like, "Crispy's back, Crispy's back, Crispy's back." And I'm like, let's go. I'm excited about that. I tried them. I remember trying them at the gas station, and Crispy is just stuck as my favorite flavor. You don't really see these at gas stations as much anymore. I got lucked out, and our Walmart still has these. So I'm glad that I can still keep some crispy M&Ms with me, get them every once in a while, and it's just all around my favorite flavor.
Yeah, I'll go with Fudge Brownie. They don't have Crispies where I shop anymore, so they don't have pretzel either, because I know pretzel was like a big flavor of mine growing up. So I'm going to have to go with Fudge Brownie. These are my favorite new flavor by far. So if you ever haven't tried them, you need to go try them because they're really good.
I just got regular plain M&Ms. My two favorites are pretzel and crispy, and I could find neither in Cheyenne.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, my favorite are the peanut butter ones, but I love the crispy M&Ms. I don't think I've seen them since like 2018. Yeah. So I don't know how you looked out with that, Jared. So I'm repping red, even though that's my least favorite color. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take some of these. You guys too. Come on. Oh, not in your mouth, not in your hand. That's awesome product placement, I guess. So, the Roval. That's what happened this weekend. I don't know what other than to say than we've been mesmerized by this put together puzzle piece road course for 4 years straight now. I mean, what do you guys think is the reason that this road course that we've just kind of manufactured is actually putting on good racing?
I think it has to do with the cutoff part. It's the cutoff race before the next round. And they haven't raced at a road course in a while, and it kind of races differently, creates closer, compact action. You got the old Tom's heartburn turn, where you've seen multiple drivers every single year, it seems like, just as the meme goes, their controller disconnection just goes straight into the wall. So I think that has something to do with it. And it is kind of interesting because I remember they do anything like whenever they're coming to green, they don't go through that chicane, so they're coming at them a bit faster than they are during the race itself. So it's a tricky turn. It's different every single time.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with him on that part. And then I also got to go with the late cautions, because it seems like every time they go there, they'll get strung out like at the 3/4 mark of the race. And then right when they get into that last fourth, like some late caution comes out and then it turns into chaos. And that's like 2018 was kind of famous for that. We all remember what happened there. 2019 and 2020 had a little bit of action too, but this year was probably like one of the more eventful races there since they went there, because I don't think anybody would have thought Larson would win after he had that alternator problem. So,
yeah, I think so I'm not a fan of these fantasy track courses, all the infield ones, but of all of them, the Roval is by far the best. I think it has to do with the length of the track, as opposed to Daytona or Indianapolis, where it's a 2.5 mile track. You build a road course inside, that's a super long track, especially like Daytona, where the cars get up on the banking. They have a long time to build up speed. That gets huge gaps in between the cars. I think the Roval does a nice job of kind of keeping the cars fairly compressed together. And then the elevation changes in the infield, I think, are another huge factor of that too. Daytona and Indianapolis, we don't see near the elevation changes in the infield as we do at Charlotte, and I think that plays a huge role into it. The playoff portion is, I mean, that's obviously another huge factor too. If we put this race in March, I don't think they race near as hard. So, I mean, it's just all around like a kind of a complete package to make this a good race.
So, I mean, it's been, like I said, pieced together a little bit. I mean, we have, turn one, we had changes from testing to what they implemented the first year. And then, of course, the chicane was just terrible when they had it. Basically, a flat foot just switched back. And so they made the newer chicane for the second year. We didn't destroy as many cars. But it still seems to just always provide something different, which I think is a refreshing thing because we could have a 550, 500-mile race at Charlotte there anyway. So I was one of the ones that was really skeptical about this race. But over the last couple of years, I've grown to kind of want to see it, I think, like Colton said, the elevation changes in the middle is really the only saving grace to this track because I guess that's a little bit of a difference that these other tracks that are Rovals don't have, and that's why we didn't see as good of racing at the road course at Daytona or the quote-unquote Roval from Indianapolis, other than the turn 6 curb just disintegrating over the day. So I can respect it, but like you guys said, it's also due to a lot of playoff stuff. So when we look at the playoffs, we had a bunch of different stories come through. I guess the first piece would be the 5 car. I mean, the 5 car was not the only Hendrick car to have problems yesterday, but they came back and they came through for a win. What did you guys think of the fact that they had all that adversity and overcame it?
I think Kyle Larson's grown up a lot compared to his 42 days, where now he's able to finish races. And I think having the year off of NASCAR basically last year and learn how to do car control a lot better from racing all that dirt series, I think that really helped him on road courses. And the results this year has really shown that he's really improved on road courses. So I think the fact that Kyle Larson's been able to finish races now, I think if you at this point, like if Kyle Larson gets any type of adversity, I think he's gonna come through and end up winning.
Yeah, I think I would agree. And also, I think, as always, most of our discussions turn into bashing the playoffs. I think it's sad that he was even in below the cut line at one point when his alternator broke. Like, people were saying, like, that's just the playoffs. Like, I don't believe that the best guy all year should even be in position to miss the playoffs because of that. And luckily, he ended up winning, so we didn't have to worry about that. But it definitely was a really, really close call considering he had that many bonus points and barely squeaked in.
Yeah, I think the fact that the team changed an alternator on pit road and still came back to win the race says a lot about the Hendrick team as a whole.
Yeah,
and the pit crews that they have. Without that, I mean, we don't see him win that race. And not only that, like, it was a Hendrick problem as a whole, and Alex Bowman didn't finish terrible. I mean, he still finished the race. It wasn't like that ended his day super early or he had problems throughout the entire afternoon with it. So, I mean, I think that says a lot about Hendrick, and that kind of attests to Kyle Larson's success this year. I thought he's always had the car control. He's just really shown it this year with the equipment.
Car.
Right. He doesn't have to push it as hard as he did that 42 car. I mean, he won 4 races in 2017. So, I mean, he's always had that talent. He's just now getting to a point where he's in great equipment and like we knew he was going to be, because we all saw this a couple years ago. As soon as his contract with Chip ended, he was going to get picked up somewhere big. And that's exactly what happened after getting released last year. He's just showing us all what he can do.
Yeah, and we talked about it, how, he's probably the best talented race car driver on the planet right now, and in my opinion. So it's not that he's not ever had that talent. I think it was more so that we finally get a crew behind this guy that can stack up to his talent level, where he's not just kind of going into pits and just kind of, I mean, not half-assing it, because guys are obviously that work for, CGR aren't out there every day not putting everything they've got out there. It's just these big teams, Hendrick, Penske, and Joe Gibbs Racing. They've got ways of kind of funneling guys up the charts, and they can pay them more, so they obviously have the better talent. And I think that goes to show just how much a driver can accelerate a team, because that 5 team has been there for some time, and whether or not the numbers switched around and who's actually been at the wheel doesn't really make a difference, because that core group has been there, and those guys are extremely talented. Now they've got someone who can take what they've got and put it on the track and go absolutely batshit crazy and bring home wins that they really shouldn't have. Like this one, I would argue that Bristol was another one that he pulled their car to it, not just them having to show up with no disrespect to a racetrack with a Brian Vickers or a Casey Kane or someone like that, who wasn't necessarily able to get the best out of that car just based on stuff like health issues and what have you. So it showed me that Hendrick is and has always been that superpower team. They just haven't had the right people in the right places. And now that they've got someone who can unify this team, they're banging out. Another Hendrick driver had some issues. He did not make it through to the next round. That was the 48 of Alex Bowman. What did you guys think about these two drivers having similar but yet different issues on Sunday?
I think with Alex Bowman, it's like the writing's been kind of on the wall. He hasn't really been running as consistent as he was earlier in the season. And I saw a tweet today where if they did the season-long point standings, Alex Bowman's actually getting outrun by both the RCR cars at the moment, with if you did a season-long point standing. So I think just how the consistency has been running, I think something's just off compared to earlier in the year. So I think that's why he's ended up getting cut off at this point.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. They both had similar problems, but the only difference is that the 5 car is a rocket ship, and Kyle Larson's probably the hottest driver in the sport right now. So it's harder to really keep them down because they're just that fast. Whereas you can't really say the same about Bowman. He finished all right at the Roval, but it's just he wasn't going to come drive through the field and win the race. It's just at this point in the season, it's almost not feasible for them because, like you said, they've had 3 top 10s since the summer. So like they can't afford to just hibernate for the entire summer like they have been.
Yeah, I agree. It's fair to admit now that Alex Bowman is kind of the the weakest. Yeah, the most inconsistent Hendrick driver. I don't really want to say the weakest link because obviously he could still get it out and get it done at a few tracks. But I mean, I'm looking at his stats right here. I just pulled them up. He's only made it into the round of 8 once. I mean, obviously he made it to the round of 12 this year. He made it. He actually finished 12th in 2019 and 16th in 2018. So, I mean, if I'm Alex Bowman, I'm kind of looking at when my contract's up, and I might kind of be looking over my shoulder too, because I know there's a lot of good guys out there that will be looking for better rides here in the next couple of years, or at least someone to kind of steal an opportunity. He's had several years to kind of get it done and prove that he can do it in Hendrick equipment. I think this year did help with him getting those. I think he has 3 wins, right? Because he got Pocono, Dover, and Richmond. So, I mean, he is getting a little bit better, but to see him get outrun by William Byron at this point is kind of, I mean, it would be kind of alarming to me as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not as if a couple of years ago he's going to be looked at as someone who's going to get replaced, right? But now, like you said, there's people that could possibly move up the cup and have some more talent. Maybe Noah Gragson comes to mind that he could get on with Hendrick Motorsports just because of the connection there with Junior Motorsports. But I mean, they could also snipe other drivers. That's essentially what they did with Kyle Larson, and with some of these big name drivers having contracts coming up, and we see some of them moving, like a Brad Keselowski going to Roush. I mean, it's not out of the question that someone else big name could come in. I think he's safe at the moment because he's going to go out there and get a couple wins a year, it seems, at this point. Now, maybe he lucked up because of some late race cautions and capitalized on stuff, but that's just as good of a win as someone actually going out there and dominating. So I don't see him going anywhere else. It's just he hasn't had any really good luck since that Pocono race, and I don't know if it's a thing in the 48 shop or if it's just he found that golden horseshoe in the back of the room from Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy asked for it back, or I don't know. But his teammate, you brought him up there, was also one of the ones getting knocked out. That's the 24 of. Well, did he not get knocked out? Yeah, he did.
No, he did. But...
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was the 24 of William Byron. So, I mean, there was a little bit of controversy with those two, and that was Tyler Reddick and William Byron. So what happened with that?
Well, I wanted to add on something before we got into Byron about Alex Bowman. And that's a really good driver comparison that I kind of thought of for the last 5 or 6 months now, and it's starting to add up, is that he reminds me a lot of Casey Kane. He's a dirt driver, West Coast background, and when they got to Hendrick or anywhere really, they could win races, but they just weren't consistent. Casey Kane never had 20 top 10s in a season. He only finished top 10 in points once, I believe, or twice. So I feel like that's a good measuring stick for him. I think that he can win races. He's fast. It's just he's got to put a season together. And the moment, if he ever puts a season together, then he will probably compete for a title. It's just, but with how it's going now, he's got a long way to go to put a year together.
Yeah, and it's not out of the question just because of who he drives for. So
yeah,
that's a really interesting kind of illusion there. I mean, I said somebody like a Casey Kane or a Brian Vickers, so he's kind of the fourth man at Hendrick. I can definitely attest to that, but I don't see him going anywhere. So we'll see how
he just signed a 2-year extension, I think.
Yeah, and with the next gen car, who knows who's going to be good? I guess William Byron was one of the faster drivers from the Chevy camp in this next gen test, so maybe he's going to finally show up. But, I mean, he goes out there with Tyler Reddick and has the problems that he does. I mean, do you guys feel as if there should have been any bad blood between those two drivers for the incident that happened in the chicane?
I mean, Tyler Reddick's going for a win, so I think he has nothing to lose. He's not in the playoffs. He hasn't won a race yet in his career. So, it's one of those things where if you're a non-playoff driver, why should you just let the playoff driver go? I know that's not morally right, but you're a race car driver, I'm trying to win. He's trying to win. Guess what? It's a racing deal. And I think, like I just said, I think it's just one of those deals where he's trying to go for his win. And I think that you can't fault him for that.
Yeah, I think that's just another playoff problem. That's what I like to call them. I just call them playoff problems because, every driver should have a right to go for the win. And I think that's just a problem that the playoffs create. Back in the day, you wouldn't have these debates as, oh, this guy shouldn't go for the win. He's not in the playoffs. So I don't really fault Reddick. I think that's literally just part of it because you had two guys that both needed a win. One of them to move on to the next round, and then the other one just needed a win in general. So.
Yeah, going forward, I don't think there's going to be any bad blood. No. I do understand why William was upset in the moment. He's going for a season right there. He didn't feel like that was fair. But I mean, on the flip side, if William was going for his first win and that was anyone else in front of him, we probably see him do sort of the same thing.
Right.
So moving forward, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I do want to point out their video on Twitter, I think looks very staged just because the way they kind of both hustled up to each other. Reddick was grinning throughout half of it. I think they said some words, and then someone in the media was like, hey, whoa, we need to record this, and had him do it again or something.
Yeah, probably. That's what it looked like. I don't.
That'd be amazing.
I don't get. Obviously the media wants views and clicks and whatever, but I don't get it. NASCAR put the playoff guys on the pedestal by having this elimination style, and I get where William Byron's coming from, But I'm just going to have to echo you guys. Like, Tyler Reddick's going for his first win. He just got a little bit hot into the chicane. Like, it's not like he just blew the corner and just rammed his ass and threw him through the styrofoam barriers there. I mean, he just got hot in. And at first glance, I even thought that Kyle Larson knocked him out of there until they showed the replay. I was like, damn, you going to do that to your teammate? You know? So, I mean, either way, it makes sense to me. I mean, you're not out there to just get into, you know, a race car and putt around because 8 guys have a chance at a championship, or 12 guys in that case. No, you're out there because you have sponsors who pay you to go put their name on screen and get a bunch of views on network TV, and they want you to do good because the higher you are in the standings or the positioning of on track, the more screen time that they're going to be. The reason that they put money into the sport is to be seen, and the only way they're going to be seen is if Tyler Reddick goes out there and wins a race. And in his mind, he wants to do it for himself, not just his sponsors. So, I mean, if NASCAR's going to put us in this bubble where we have to, you know, give those guys in the playoffs, they're having their own race sort of deal. It's just going to make races more boring from the fans standpoint. So I appreciate that it happened. Moving on, though, I guess we can talk a little bit about some of the other guys that didn't make it through the rounds. Let's go with the I guess the guy that doesn't know how to turn right this year, Brad Keselowski. I mean,
is he in?
What happened with this guy?
Yeah, he did get in.
He got in.
Oh, he did get
It's
in?
at Talladega. Yeah, he finished second.
I saw that the tie. Anyways, he's still spun again at a road course. What happened?
I don't know. I don't know if something's wrong with Penske on road courses, or maybe even the 2 team on road courses. Because he wrecked like twice at Watkins Glen and had an issue with the Roval. So I don't know if something's wrong with that too, or their setup's wrong for road courses. But he just hasn't seemed to found any luck at road courses this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he said, it could be an issue because I know one of them was a self-spin. He got punted in the other one. So, you know, I don't think all of it was his fault, but it is kind of sad to see because for a while they were really good at one road course in particular, which was Watkins Glen. And then along came the data sharing, along came everybody figuring things out. And now they're kind of just there. Like, I don't know if it's something with the brakes because – like you guys said, he spun so many times at Watkins Glen on his own under braking. So like something's just not right there.
Yeah. I'm still a tinfoil hat conspiracist that Penske is not giving him very good equipment or good setups anymore just because he knows Brad is leaving. Obviously he still wants his guy to do good, but why are you going to give him Joey Logano setup to take with him to Roush? I think that was, you know, I mean, we could break this down and talk about brake biases, which is probably the main issue here, especially with that spin at Watkins Glen and that self-spin at the Roval. But, I mean, all in all, we have noticed a drastic fall-off from him. I think he even had problems at Road America.
Yeah, he's pretty rough.
Yeah, so I don't know what's happened to that 2-car this year, but especially on the left and right courses, he's not doing too good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he hasn't really been there all year, in my opinion.
Yeah,
anyways, for a Brad Keselowski year, it's been terrible.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's up with the 2-car. I would be surprised if he makes it into the championship. I mean, if he sneaks a win at one of these 2 550 tracks, that's going to be the only way I see him getting in. He's not going to win.
He's bad at 550, so like that's the Penske weakness.
Well, I mean, not necessarily because you got to think the 12 car can go out there and win both of those. So,
but I don't know what's wrong with the other 2 though. Something's wrong with them.
I don't know. Well, I think the spotter change may help Joey Logano a little bit. I'm not sure that it's going to do much for Brad. I don't know that Brad's kind of in it to win it this year. I think he's so far gone mentally, maybe just because being at Penske. I don't think he's wanted to be there for the past year or 2 anyways. So it kind of sucks to be Brad in this moment, in my opinion, and I don't see him moving on. But the guy he beat on a tiebreaker would have been Kevin Harvick, and well, no, it was Martin Truex Jr. that beat Kevin Harvick, but Kevin Harvick was the first guy out. So, I mean, let's not talk about it. Let's beat around the bush a little bit. But other than the Elliott thing, how did we end up with Harvick not moving on? Was it just the playoff points going in not being there?
Yeah, it's just how the season's gone for him, and he got out of the first round, but eventually the lack of wins, playoff points, that's going to eventually catch up to you. And that was a prime example. Like, I know he's been having like top 10 type of runs, but he's not having like stage winning types of races. I think, what was it, Michigan was the only one, or one of the races, Michigan wasn't that he was leading laps, or
I think it was just Bristol was like the one where he led a lot of the race.
Yeah, Bristol, I think it was New Hampshire actually is where he was leading laps.
Yeah.
New Hampshire, that was pretty much like the only like old last year type of Kevin Harvick we really saw this year. Because of that, he was just pacing around, and SHR itself just has been good as a whole. And like I said, it just catches up to you eventually, and that's what happened. It kind of was expected at that point. And
yeah, I would say that he has done a really good job this season, though. You know, for a team that does like really bad at 550 tracks, he's finished top 10 in almost every 750 oval race, which is like absurd to think about, considering those are his only chances to win, and he's taken pretty good advantage of them. And someone said he had the third best average finish in Cup this year, which is kind of goes under the radar because he, like I said, he only has a car that can compete at half the tracks. So I think all things considered, it's been a good year for him as a driver. It's just not a good year for the team.
Yeah, this reminds me of RCR Kevin Harvick, where he's making the equipment look a lot better than it really is. If you'd have told me by October 13th in 2021 that Eric Almirola was the only SHR car with a win, I would have laughed right in your face because the dominance we've seen from him for really the last half decade, longer than that. I think it boils down to their lack of performance in the regular season, him not getting those stage wins, a couple stage wins and a couple race wins in the regular season, and he's in the round of 8 just based on those extra points there. And then Bristol also played a big factor in that because a race win would have got an extra 5 bonus points. He wouldn't have been looking over his shoulder as much. He wouldn't have been really trying to fight that hard for those spots. He could have kind of taken it a little bit more easy at the Roval and played it a little more safe. But nonetheless, here we are.
Yeah, you're talking about 1 point being the difference between him being in and him being out. Yeah, he didn't have the best finish of the round, but had he had one of those stage wins somewhere in the season, he'd have made it. Just if everything in this round happened the same as what it wound up happening. It's a little bit disappointing to see a guy that went from dominating the series to losing a championship off of pretty much a great round. I think he was going to finish 3rd, 2nd, and then 8th maybe before what happened at Martinsville happened on the last lap when he tried to spin the 18 out and kind of screwed himself over, give him a 17th place, and he doesn't make it to the championship 4 because he wasn't perfect after winning 9 races last season. We see that again on this year's. I mean, him making it is a difference between 1 point. What he was so good at last year, the team couldn't execute. And I don't know. It's just disappointing because whether or not you're a Kevin Harvick fan, he's a household name, and you want to beat him and you want to do good against him. But if he's not up to the level that you think you should be competing at, that's got to suck for other competitors too.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a lot out of the whole "I beat Kevin Harvick today" kind of emotion that we see out of some drivers, especially these last few years. We talk about it a lot with bushwhacking when those Cup guys go down into the Busch Series and Xfinity Series, and they beat some of these Cup guys. That's a big, huge confidence boost. And now I don't know that we see that this year. Some of these younger guys, like say Christopher Bell, who just got knocked out. Some of these other ones, Chase Briscoe, et cetera, they kind of take that with a grain of salt now. They can't just go out and flat out beat Kevin Harvick because he's not the same Kevin Harvick that we've come used to seeing.
Yeah, and I think the only good thing about it has been that he's he's kind of sparked up in some controversy. So, I mean, other than the 20 car, which I think is a little bit self-explanatory about how he didn't make it through the rounds. He never really showed up this round, in my opinion. And someone's got to be sacrificed if you're going to have most of your teams into the round of 8. And the 20 car is the 4th team at Gibbs because he's not really that star power yet. The 9 car and the 4 car had that controversy from Bristol, and it showed its head at the Roval. So I want to ask the first question to you guys. Was that payback, or did Kevin Harvick just make a mistake?
Definitely payback, I would assume. It was kind of obvious, I think it was payback, basically, just off of how he reacted at the end of the race at Bristol, and then how he kind of carried it into the media the following week. And I think, obviously you didn't see anything at Talladega because it's not worth it, and you just waited for the right time at the Roval. You saw him in the corners, I might just drive in a little bit deeper here and maybe if I clip someone, I clip someone, and it so happened to be the 9 car. But yeah, I think it's clear evidence that it was payback. You can, like I said, based off of how he was acting the week following Bristol.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't agree with what Elliott did in Bristol, and I don't agree with what Harvick did here. I think it was clearly payback. I just don't think there was a winner in this whole thing because they both kind of looked bad.
Yeah, Chase Elliott won because he's moved on, and Harvick's having his off season right now.
Yeah. This reminds me of a lot of middle school drama. This isn't kind of the NASCAR rivalry that we're used to seeing. It definitely has kind of a sour taste to it, and I'm wondering if that just isn't because Harvick's so fired up in his interviews, and Chase is so kind of reserved when he talks to the media, and then they go out on the track and they act completely different. Harvick did have a chance to retaliate against Chase earlier in the race. They showed it on TV where he caught him on the front stretch, but I don't think that was a really good time for him to do it. I think coming out right onto oval turn 1 was about the perfect time for him in his mind. The car gets really light coming through that corner. That's a really good time to just kind of get on it. And in his defense, I've looked through a couple other in-car audios, and his throttle isn't far off from what a lot of cars are running. So, we're talking about a split second that he got into the throttle extra that ended up sending Chase around. I think the only thing that Harvick kind of regrets is not sending him a little bit harder,
Or a little later in the race.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, that's why I don't know that I 100% feel like this was actual payback. I feel like that this was a mistake from Harvick, and he kind of had to make it into something because that's what the media was going to do. I think he was just racing Chase Elliott hard to race Chase Elliott hard. He made a mistake to get him, messed up in that corner and sent into in the wall there. And then, I don't know, it just kind of messed both of their days up because they were both at that point driving kind of chaotically, trying to get with each other or get away from each other. So, Jared, what'd you have?
I think if he really, really, really wanted to junk him, he would have Matt Kenseth it and literally just threw him into the wall and made it a lot worse than he did, because obviously he didn't wreck him bad enough where Chase Elliott's car he actually made Chase's car better and ended up finishing 12th. So I think if he really wanted to take him out, he would have actually just junked his car and made it more obvious than how he did. Because at least how he got into him the first time, you could kind of make you could make an argument that, he maybe drove in a little bit too hard, or brakes didn't work as good. But unlike, you go back to Martinsville where Matt Kenseth literally just waited for him and junked him into turn 1, where it was more obvious. I think he could have done a lot better job if he truly wanted to take him out.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I can't 100% say that he did it, because if he would have done it harder, he could have trashed that I guess right rear suspension or something to make it or that car could not have continued, because he was in a perfect area to do so, because that corner was probably 12 feet off the wall at that point. So he had the ability to do something worse. I do want to kind of continue the track from here. Right after that, Chase seemingly darts down the racetrack to try and hit the 4 car and gets the 41 car. Do you guys think that was a malicious intent, or if that was just screw up because Chase had the damage there?
Man, y'all can't tell me that wasn't intentional. I mean, as soon as Harvick got to his door, we saw 9 take a hard left. You can't. The way he kind of coasted up the banking, there's no way that wasn't intentional. If he had those issues with handling or steering at that point, he wouldn't have made it as far up the banking as he did. Yeah, I think he just missed Harvick by a couple inches and ended up smoking his teammate instead.
Yeah, I mean, if you hear the radio conversation where they were even talking to, like, hey, if you wreck the 4, we're in. So he was definitely trying to get him back, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like a heat of the moment thing. Like, I think he snapped at that point. You know, he knew that he had just gotten sent, for out of nowhere. And I think that in that little split second, he saw the 4. He knew that was the guy who probably did it. So he's like, yeah, I need to kill this guy.
Yeah, I think if it was any other driver, you wouldn't have seen that. Like if it was like Cole Custer or something who accidentally did that, I don't think you see him take a hard left
Yeah.
And he probably wanted a caution too.
Oh, he got his caution.
Okay. So, thank you, Nathan. Welcome to Conspiracy Theory and 10.
Oh, no. What did I do?
Of Fan Fuel Motorsports Podcast.
Oh.
It is time to ask the really hard questions. I know we probably shouldn't be talking about this because we've got Chase's Holo driver coming on shortly. But what the fuck, NASCAR? You called a caution for a car that was not in the way, and then a little bit later on in the race, you didn't black flag that car for having a piece of debris that was definitely going to come off the car when you probably wouldn't have called the caution for a self-spin for anyone else, and you probably wouldn't have let them keep driving if a piece of debris was definitely going to fall off of a car. I mean, I've got my tinfoil hat on. I think it's because it was Chase Elliott. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm going to just go. I'll just say my spiel on this. Like, I know Bob tweeted that thing off. Well, the back bumper doesn't need to be mandatory on road courses. Well, sure, it doesn't need to be on, but the difference is it was clearly like on the verge of coming off, and that's going to be a safety hazard if it were to come off. So I think that means maybe you should like, hey, get that fixed up or whatever. And then they were using excuses. Well, we were watching the situation and there wasn't really anything we could do about it. I'm like, well, yeah, you could just throw a caution or black flag and be like, hey, go fix that thing. And plus, you know how NBC decided to just follow Chase around while he's back there with it. Did you guys see how hard he was hitting those curbs trying to get it to fall off? So that
once they told him that piece of that duct tape, I can't remember the actual bear bond or whatever, had snapped, that he was going so hard over every one of those curbs.
Yeah, and he doesn't get that caution. It's a whole different race, you know. Like they get NASCAR's like, oh, there's a debris caution. And I think that also goes back to like, you know, that's kind of affecting an outcome of a race there. And we all have those conspiracies of previous races on drivers like self-spinning to get a caution and everything. Like to me, in all reality, that's no different than him just spinning out to get a caution. Whenever he has a piece of debris that's clearly hanging off that can easily be repaired by going down to pit road and either ripping it off or I don't know. That's just my 2 cents because I've seen in the past, I can't think of any examples at the moment, but where cars will have something wrong with them and they have to get black flagged, or heck, we'll even get into the rabbit hole of, so that's not black flaggable, but the pit crew misses a lug nut and their crew chief gets suspended. Like that's the world of NASCAR we're living in right now.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, I think the frustrating thing is that it's inconsistent, and also something with the rear bumper covers that people don't really pay attention to, and I'm sure NASCAR does, is that whenever cars lose bumpers on oval tracks, it can be a little bit of an aero advantage, and it's happened. I know with Kyle Busch at Bristol, other like drivers were complaining when he won that race. They're like, hey, you know, him not having a bumper cover, that's an advantage for aero. And Bobby Allison won the Daytona 500 one year without a rear bumper cover, and people threw a whole bunch of like controversy at that. They're like, you know, this shouldn't be allowed to happen. He should have to have his bumper cover. I know it's not like a big thing on road courses, but That's probably one of the reasons why it's like an automatic black flag if you don't have a rear bumper cover on the car. And especially with something hanging off the car, because usually the reason they black flag them is like the same thing with a lucky dog. If you cause a caution as a lucky dog car, then you're not allowed to benefit from a lucky dog. And NASCAR usually doesn't want the guy that threw a water bottle on the track to benefit from a caution, for example, like what Robbie Gordon did several years ago. I think obviously it's different because of the person involved, which is a sad part.
So I got a whole can of worms here. I did a little bit of research, and I found a couple instances where NASCAR told the drivers when they had something either protruding or hanging off their car to clean it up. And we saw the comments. If you guys listen to DBC, they said several times on the podcast, like, hey, they've heard tons of times over the radio, NASCAR, come on, if someone's got something hanging off, come on the radio and say, hey, such and such, you need to get in and clean that up. You know, you need to pit. We're going to stop scoring you here in a couple laps, et cetera, et cetera. They have done that many times in the past. One of them was this year with Ben Rhodes. Remember, he had that at the Knoxville dirt race. He had that bar kind of sticking out from his wheel. NASCAR black flagged him as they were coming to green. There was one other instance this year. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Ross Chastain. My buddy says it was Michael McDowell, but some other car had the exact same thing. The rear bumper cover was coming off. NASCAR black flagged him, made him put it back on. Granted, that was probably in an oval track, but, I mean, to Nate's comments, I don't see how it should be required one way or the other.
Hey, they're racing on an oval, technically. I mean, although they're not racing 100%
right
there, I mean, they've got four corners on an oval. So
yeah, another one was actually Robbie Gordon in 2004 at New Hampshire. He had something hanging off his car, and NASCAR black flagged him, and Robbie refused to pit for it, and NASCAR eventually stopped scoring him. So that was a big one. Granted, that's a little far-fetched because of the difference in leadership and how NASCAR was 17 years ago versus now. But, I mean, the DBC comments kind of raised my eyebrows that they've heard it multiple times. We even saw driver radios coming on and saying, hey, if that was anyone but the 9, they'd be black flagged by now. And to the most popular driver comment, you can't tell me that Dale Jr. didn't get a few breaks. Right? We saw him pass below the yellow line at Talladega. We've seen a whole bunch of times where NASCAR kind of gave him a little bit of leeway because they knew what the fan reaction was going to be. Another couple comments I wanted to point out was NASCAR's social media post. If you guys saw that, as soon as that caution came out, they posted on Twitter, it was just a matter of time, and then yellow flag and a gif of that bumper cover coming off. If you guys are going to make fun of the situation that you created, they knew it was going to happen. They absolutely knew it. They wanted it. Yeah, exactly.
They want the caution, restarts.
They said on the broadcast Chase was a second slower than the leader by the time that caution came out. And all of a sudden that caution comes out, they can go in, they can mess with the car. He's good. So, I mean, that's huge suspicions from there. And we've heard as well, I've mentioned on here, Jimmy Spencer's comments of why he thought the 01 Daytona or a Pepsi 400 was suspicious is because he got to see behind the curtain and how NASCAR was run. I think this is a whole lot of that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we know in the past, even with Big Bill, there have been instances where he has told someone not to do X, Y, and Z, or he's kind of manipulated a little bit of different things just because of leadership, and obviously that's going to flow down the familial line. Obviously, we're not down there nowadays, but if your majority fan base is ex-driver's fan and you do something in detriment to that driver, you're kind of screwing yourself over. So I could see where they would do something like this for a Chase Elliott, for a Dale Jr., because, you know, way back in 2004 when they shot themselves in the foot and did that 25-point penalty for Dale Jr. That's the only reason he didn't win the inaugural Chase Championship. So I get it. It frustrates me a little bit, but, you know, you got to see NASCAR's views on this. So I'm not necessarily defending them, but I get it. I get it. With that being said, it seems that our guest has arrived. So thank you guys for sticking around and waiting. The hauler driver for the car right behind me, which is now the 9 car of Chase Elliott. You know him on Twitter as Ryno Rose. Welcome in. How's it going?
Hey.
What's going on?
Hey, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. How y'all boys doing?
No,
Pretty
pretty
good
good.
night. How about you, man?
Hey man, ready to get to Texas?
Well, you know what? We were going to ask you a bunch of questions. One of the questions that we had was, when are you leaving for Texas, or have you already left?
No, I haven't left for Texas. As far as I know, progress on the Texas race cars, they're coming along really good. We'll probably leave out either tomorrow night or early Friday morning.
Okay.
That's a little bit later than I thought you guys would leave for Texas.
Hey man, you'd be surprised. It's a whole different ball game over here.
How long of a drive is it?
I'd like to leave out early. I think
Yeah.
it's like around 16 hours.
Oh, that's not as long as I thought it'd be.
Nah, it ain't like going out to the West Coast.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on tonight, Ryan. I know you talked with Jared about coming on here. So thanks for responding to him, and we're glad to have you on. So, Jared, did you have any questions first, since you were the guy that kind of made this happen?
Yeah, we can just go around the room here and ask questions as we think. And Ryan, if you have any questions for us, you can always ask us some stuff. But one of the things I was just going to ask, just to start things off, is like, how long have you been doing this, and how did you get into trucking business?
That's funny. Well, me and Corey LaJoy, we grew up together. Like, I've been knowing him since birth, and used to real close with his whole family and everything like that. So when he started getting his shot in the top 3 series, like, I made sure that I was kind of like right there on his coattail. So when he got his shot to go to BK, it was kind of just one of the things where I was in the right place at the right time. So in 2017, I got my start with him at BK. Then when BK shut down and he went to TriStar, I went to Starcom. And that was in 18. Did BJ McLeod in 19. 2020 kind of like was like, yeah, I think I'm done. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, it was fun for me, but I was more so, it's so much driving. It was so much driving, and you miss out on a lot of family time. So I was just like, hey, I'm gonna just step back. I'm gonna cut my schedule in half, or cut it back for the most part. So I did some stuff with Bobby Daughter at the time, with Joe Graff his first year, and then the opportunity came knocking this year for the 9, because last year it knocked for the 24 before Rudy Fugel took it over this year. So I was actually at Hendrick Chad's last year, being atop the box, trying to help out the 24. Then this year the opportunity knocked again, and it just so happened to be Chase, which is the original truck that I wanted to be on over at Hendrick. So crazy how everything works out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hell yeah, man. So I do have to ask, since you I mean, you started in, you said 2017, 2018, thereabouts. This rapidly increased to you becoming the most popular driver as hauler driver. I mean,
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean to you? I mean, we're not talking about, I mean, not to discount anybody else, and obviously you've been through the ranks, but we're not talking about, Haulin Josh Williams' Xfinity car to and from the race. We're talking about Chase Elliott, 2020 Cup champion. I mean, what does that do for you? I mean, does that instill a sense of pride or what?
It definitely instills a lot of pride. Like, when you roll that blue Napa A-Shock, all the fantastic partners that Chase has got and Hendricks has got, when you roll that thing into the tracks, like, it's special. And a lot of people, if you got to know Chase, if you got to meet him, like, man, he's so humble, he's so down to earth, he's so respectful. And a lot of people probably feel like, oh, he got fed with a silver spoon, he ain't never drove no bad equipment. Like, every driver that's in NASCAR has had to somewhat claw their way to the top. It's not like Bill just shoved all the money that he had in a Chase and either it worked out or it didn't. But I mean, definitely, it's a lot of pride that I take into pulling that hauler in, and I just like seeing the kids and people smile, man. Like, that was the best thing for me, just to come back, and the fans are starting to come back. Because if the fans wasn't gonna be there, I wasn't gonna be there.
Oh yeah. Nate, what do you got? Because I got a couple lined up, but I'm going to use them sparingly.
I want to know, I do this for every guest. how long have you been a NASCAR fan? Who was your driver growing up? Like, how all did this come together?
Well, like I said, me and Corey grew up together. He was born September the 25th, I want to say, or September the 18th, and I came literally like a month and a half later, November the 17th, and our parents stayed actually side by side in a duplex. So I mean, like, I've been eating, sleeping, breathing, everything NASCAR since I met him. Like, so growing up, like, of course, Busch Series wise, you root for Randy LaJoy. I hated Buckshot just like everybody else. But and my Cup guy, my dad was an Earnhardt fan, so I was an Earnhardt fan. But then once other guys started coming into the sport, I finally got to like pick my own guy. And it is so crazy how everything happens because I was a huge Harvick fan.
Oh wow!
I still like Harvick. I'm just like, dude, like what is happening? Like, the guy I used to root for, like, from a kid, is now wrecking my race car that I got to haul across America on purpose. So right now we're not drinking no Busch and we're not eating no Subway.
Hell yeah! Well, you love to hear it.
Of course I root for Corey too.
The passion behind it's great. How much do you associate with the team and drivers? And I mean, obviously, a lot of that drama kind of spills over to you because you're kind of part of that team. But I mean, how much? I mean, I know you probably don't work on the cars, but you got to associate with those guys a ton and kind of camaraderie.
Oh yeah, I mean, me and our team, we're definitely all one. Like, I go in 3-4 days out the week, we joke and stuff like that, talk to those guys, bring them lunch and stuff like that, surprise them with donuts, try to tease them like I've been doing. Said, hey, if you guys get me this, you get this Texas car loaded, get it done by Wednesday and get me on the road, like, we'll bring you some maple bacon donuts. And they were like, yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah, so
but I mean, it's all one big, it's all one big happy family, man. Like, all 4 teams, they used to be in separate shops. Like, used to have the 9 and the 24, then you had the 48 and the 88. Now we're all in one house. So we're just all, we're all grinding, man. We're all going for a chip.
Yeah, that's got to be really cool. I did want to ask, so obviously we've got, water cooler talk with our jobs and stuff. We talk about other sports, football, what have you. But you're working with other guys out at Hendrick Motorsports. What is your day-to-day like with the, I guess, competition between the four teams in-house?
Like, as far as, like, do we all do the same thing, or just like?
No, like when you guys are ragging on each other, like, do y'all get after it based on what Alex does versus William and Chase and everybody, or do you are you ragging on each other, or what is it like?
Oh yeah, we critique. I mean, we critique. I mean, everybody. I'm a realist, so I mean, like, if somebody was to tell me like Chase had a bad race, and if it was true, then I'm going to be like, yeah, it's true. But I mean, of course, we rag on each other. Like, I think Lance and Jeff are definitely confident because, I mean, they got 7 checkered flags on the side of their hauler, and I got 2, and Bowman's got 3. So I mean, like, competition is definitely steep within, and I think Byron's got 1. But I mean, man, it's really over there at Hendrick Motorsports, one team, one dream. I mean, we can show up with 10 different cars, but if they're coming out the same facility, same shop, got the same chassis, same motor, same dedication put in all of them, then it's really just one team, one dream. But I mean, of course, like, we all joke, like, me and my truck in the 48, we're the ones that's parked on the inside. So, like, if I see Greg Ives, I'm like, all right, well, you make sure to tell Bowman to just follow us to the front. Just follow us,
That's gotta be so cool, man.
And so,
and then, I see Chad.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll see Chad, and I'll be like, how you feeling today? He'd be like, feel good. Got 7 rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so since you answered my question earlier, one of the things I was going to wonder is, since you kind of drove around at the normal time where there used to be like 3-4 day weekend races. Now it's like Cup Series or 1 day shows or whatever. And I see you're always loading up later than normal. Like, how's that kind of different? Like, since the pandemic stuff happened last year compared to like previous years?
Previous years, I feel like teams had more time. Like, you had more time at home, but then you were gone longer than you were. So, I like the 1 day shows. I don't like the 1 day shows as far as from a driving standpoint. To me, for us to go all the way out to LA next year for the Clash, to have to haul ass back to turn around and go to Daytona the following week, like, you're going to have a lot of truck drivers tired next year. With the way the schedule is, because it's a real grind. Like, one off weekend out of, I don't even know how many races, but I mean, you're asking a lot of the guys that haul the precious cargo. But I do like the 1 day shows. I think it adds more excitement because, it gives the fans more time to roll in and gives them more time to party. And the 1 day, that your favorite NASCAR driver is going to dig as deep as he can to make you proud, make his sponsors proud, because that's all he's got. No practice. You're showing up with either with a full allotment of tires, big motor, great chassis. You're going to execute, or you're going to run in the back and you're going to be like, wow, that sucked.
Yeah,
Nate, I know you had another one.
Yeah, so I saw in your bio that you're a Legends driver, and obviously some of us have, we like to do a little bit of racing on our own, and I was kind of curious, like, how much time do you get to do that, and how long have you been racing?
Actually, we were at Nashville, and I was walking through the Xfinity garage, and Josh Williams, good buddy of mine, driver of the number 92 DGM car. I said, hey, I want to run a Bandolero, and he was like, absolutely not. And I'm like, why? And he was like, you're too old for that. It's a Legends car or nothing. And I was like, well, we're going Legends car racing. So I went to Pops, which is, Randy LaJoy. I went to him, and I'm like, Pop, I need a seat. He was like, for what? I'm like, we're going Legends car race. He was like, get him a seat. This is going to be the funniest shit ever. So I go out for my first race. So, like, 2 weeks after Nashville, I go out for my first race, and we'll go out and practice, and I'm like 23rd out of 27. I've never drove a Legends car at all. And then when it comes time for qualifying, well, actually, the first laps of practice, I spin around. Spin out in front of the whole field. So I'm embarrassed. Just like, oh, my God, this is the worst idea ever. But, I mean, I ran 3. It's kind of hard to do it during the season. So it kind of worked itself out before I got the Hendrick, that I got to run a couple races. But next year, we're going to run all the summer shootout in Charlotte. So we're going to do 10 races back with Josh, and we're going to try to get better. We finished 23rd, a DNF, and a top 10. So, we got better.
Hell yeah. I want to know what, as far as a hauler driver, what is your favorite track to go to? What's your least favorite to go to? And is Bristol as hard to get on the track as it looks?
Okay. Favorite track for me to go to probably is Bristol. Bristol and Darlington. Bristol is nerve-wracking pulling down. Like, certain truck drivers, they're scared of Bristol. My first year, I was scared, but it's like now I'm not. I mean, you go down it slow. You ease into that left turn, and it's nerve-wracking to look out the passenger side mirror and see your generator looking like the whole trailer's about to flip. But least favorite probably I don't like New Hampshire. I don't like New Hampshire, and I don't like Watkins Glen.
Two odd tracks. I don't think I would have picked those.
Yeah, I mean, from a fan standpoint, it just depends. I mean, if you like side-by-side action, then I don't feel like New Hampshire is the track for you. It's very, very flat. That's why you see everybody always running up into PJ1. But if you can get your car to rotate the bottom and roll through the center, then at least you can run a different line than the other people. But it just all depends on it just all depends on your setup.
Right. I think New Hampshire is one of the better tracks because of that, in my personal opinion. But you had mentioned going into Bristol. There was a different surface there in March this year, though. What was the difference getting in with the dirt? Was it a little bit easier because there was less banking, or how was that? I think we might have lost him.
Nope.
Oh, no, we got him.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Cutting out, cutting in. Stand by.
You got me?
Yeah.
All right, we got
There
you.
we go.
Yeah, somebody was calling me. But yeah, I didn't go to Bristol. I didn't go to Bristol for the dirt.
Oh wow!
Oh.
All right. I guess that would lead me to another question. What is your day-to-day like at the shop and stuff? I know you said you load up based on the drivers and everything, but like, what are you doing to prep for races and stuff like that? Like, I'm not a truck driver. I don't know any truck drivers. Like, how does getting on the road, getting to the track, how does that work?
Well, I mean, like say this past weekend, Charlotte, you race Sunday. We come home right down the street. Shop's really not even far from Charlotte, so that's our home track.
I hope he's not getting like team calls. Like Rick Hendrick calls.
We're more important than them anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Golly, sorry, that was actually the 5-hauler driver calling.
Oh, see?
really?
Is it working?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh. Technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We
sir.
got
Got you.
He might not have us.
Yeah.
That might be.
Oh, yeah, that might explain it.
What is going on?
We got you. Do you have us?
Yeah.
I wonder if he has us on mute.
Oh, yeah, you might have some mute. Yeah.
I don't know how it works on your phone. I've never done this on a phone.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, I know sometimes when you're on the phone with somebody, when
I
you
guess
hang up,
he might have
it
to
messes it
check
up.
his AirPods and see if they're linked up. It might be coming out of his speaker.
Yeah, because I know AirPods can get like messed up sometimes.
He
Oh,
gone.
there's go.
Okay, it's smart. He'll probably just reset and come back.
Yeah, let me.
It's happened before to me. Like when I'm on a Xbox party chat.
Can you guys hear me?
All right,
Yeah.
we got you now.
Got you
You have
now.
us?
I can't hear nobody.
No.
Man,
We gotta let's see what's going on here.
we're gonna blame it on Larson because his hauler driver's calling in.
That 5 team.
I can't hear you guys now.
Anybody know tech support?
I don't even.
I'm not good with technology.
Yeah, not good with this.
Like somebody's got to get their phones, computers, all that stuff.
Note in here. Oh. Oh, damn it. Oh, now he's gone. So he might be exiting. Technical difficulties if you're watching live. Sorry. We did not expect this. But
It's so good that I
Yeah,
can
well-
edit this and post for the Spotify and Apple podcast people.
when
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
All right, we're
Yes.
back.
All right, you got us now.
Back.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I had to
sweet.
figure out that I was scared. I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah.
But yeah, that was Lance calling me, the 5-hauler driver. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm on a podcast.
Hell yeah. Tell him about fan fuel.
But exactly, but day-to-day operations, like we were saying, is like say for instance after a race, if you get back that same night, if you get back the next day, you immediately come in and you unload the bottom, and then of course, like you would take Tuesday off. You come in Wednesday, you go through your chemical cabinet, you service your generator, you do your jacks, take out your cooler to let it dry, go upstairs and SD20 and glass clean the floors, and then after that, crew guys will come in that morning. They'll pull their race car that you just raced down. They'll go ahead and start tearing it down. That's their part. I'll shut the gate once I get all of that stuff done, and I'll take it out and we wash them at the shop. Then we back them in and we restock them again, and then next thing you know, it's time to roll.
Man, that sounds like quick. I mean,
Sure.
I know we're running, 39 out of 40 weeks or something like that. So it's going to be rough for you next year, I know. But, man, I didn't realize. You don't put two and two together. That's why I'm really glad that we got you on, so we can kind of figure out what exactly the hauler driver's job is. Because a lot of people, when they think about NASCAR, you're not the face that they're going to think about. So thanks for coming on. I know
You just see the driver and the rolling billboards. That's what the trucks are. They're rolling billboards.
Yeah.
Right, but without those rolling billboards, the fast rolling billboards wouldn't be on the track. We wouldn't have anything to watch. So we do appreciate your job.
Appreciate it.
And so one of the questions I also had too is, where do you like to watch the races at during the races? Like, do you have to stay in an assigned area in case one of your cars wrecks out early and you have to leave, or do you stay for the whole race? Or
It just depends on which one of us, which driver that weekend is working the race. I mean, like, if I'm not working the race, then I'll come in a Hendrick Polo and I'll go sit on the pit box with Alan, and I'll watch it that way.
Okay.
Or I'll stay at the hotel and we'll come in halfway and I'll come in and I'll start loading. So you don't really too much get to see the race. I mean, you come in and you get to hear a little bit of it if you're listening to a radio, or when you see the primary truck driver that's working that weekend, he'll give you an update on how you're doing. But besides that, you really don't get to watch the race too much. I usually try to do the first 2 laps if I'm working the race, and then it's time to go to work.
it's interesting. I didn't realize that. I didn't know if you were able to just chill on top of the truck and just watch the race, or if you go around. But that's kind of interesting.
I wish. I mean, I had a deal like that when I was with BJ, but I think, when you move up the ladder to these bigger cup teams, more professional teams, you got to work. You're there to do a job, be professional, and, you talk to your guys after the race.
Okay, I mean, that's a profound one for me. I just thought y'all guys just loaded up after the race and y'all were done. So what are the duties that you have during the race at that point?
If I'm working the race, then my job is I'm working pit road. So if something happens where somebody needs to run back to the truck and grab a gear, or we need a crash cart and stuff like that, then I gotta run. Or either I'm gonna be the second can man. So when the gas guy puts in the first can, you pass him the second one, you take the empty.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
interesting.
so we might see you on the wall too. That's pretty interesting. All right.
Yeah,
So
you
does
might see
anybody
me on the wall.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions else on truck drivers and what they do in NASCAR before I get into the real interview here?
I had one that came from the comments. This is a viewer that we had. At Natterday Delight on Twitter wants to know, are the hauler drivers consulted at all when it comes to the schedule? For example, LA all the way back to Daytona within a week.
Consulted, like, did NASCAR talk to us about it?
Did anyone ask you?
No.
No. I didn't figure,
No.
but it would have been cool to say, like, oh yeah, they come and ask us about this turnaround time, but I mean, I could see both sides of it where they wouldn't really care, right?
If they came and asked every single truck driver in the garage, we'd probably all say, let's go to North Wilkesboro instead of going out to LA. We can do the clash. 2 to 3 hours down the road, and it's good for everybody because you'll be home that same day.
That is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, we seem to
Because
have
they're
some
going to
westward
do a short track.
expansion with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all got Bowman Gray right there too. That's where they're having that test at for the next year car. So
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
yeah. All right. So what I always do is I kind of get philosophical. So I'm going to ask you this question. It's going to be really hard. I know you've given us some little details into your past, into your present, but when I ask you who is Ryan Mingo, who are you?
I'm the freshest truck driver to ever do it.
Yeah, that's your Twitter bio. There you go.
I like it.
I'm the freshest truck driver to ever do it, man. Like I came in with my own swag. Like, okay, you want us to wear black pants? You want us to do the black polos, team polos, and stuff like that? Okay, well then I'm going to drip sauce with my footwork. That's what's going to make me stand out. And on race day, all the kids and the people who follow me on Twitter, they gonna be like, "Yo, what shoes you busting out for this weekend?" And I'd be like, "Just wait on it."
Hell yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Like it. I always have a good shoe game.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I see you with that 2311. I see you.
Yep. Lifelong
Yeah.
Hamlin fan, so gotta support the team.
They reached out to me. I told MJ, I say, "Hey, we can talk about it, but I need some OJs."
Yep.
yeah. So I don't know how Chase would like that if you rolling up there some Jordans.
Oh, chasing every weekend is something.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't
Yeah,
picture.
yeah.
I didn't picture
I did not
Chase
picture him
Jordan's
as
kind of
a
guy.
like that. Yeah, I didn't either.
Oh yeah, me and Chase, we'll probably flick it up at one of these races. We might flick it up in Texas with the Napa colors because I'm taking out some yellow Jordans. So we might get one for the people.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll be looking
Okay.
for it on Twitter. But I mean, you unlock some stuff that I think a lot of fans didn't know, and right off the bat, you said you and Corey LaJoy were neighbors. You guys were in a duplex growing up. I have got to ask you to expound upon that. I mean, what is it like growing up beside a kid whose dad is a Busch Series legend?
I think when you're young, you really don't understand like what his dad's doing. You really don't understand the context of who his dad is. You just know his dad's a race car driver, and Randy raised us, and Randy and my dad, and my mother, my mom, and his mom. They didn't raise us. They didn't raise me and Corey like Corey. That's Ryan. Ryan, that's Corey. Like we were raised as like that's your brother. So I never really looked at Randy like he was a star. I always looked at him as just a father figure and like he could drive a race car. So, I mean, it's been cool, man. Like having him as a brother it's been a blessing. He's a really, really good kid, good man, shall I say, and a darn good race car driver. You just got to give him the equipment, and he can get the job done.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
think all
that's
of
a
us.
side that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, I think a lot of us more hardcore fans can definitely see the car control and the will to go out there and put it down every lap from Corey. But you got to see that growing up with him. So, I mean, what was his career like? Were you at the racetracks with him when he was running in the smaller stuff like late models and stuff like that? Or
I
how
was
did y'all
there. I
relationship?
was there for the band. I was there for the go-kart days because Randy had a go-kart track out back of the shop. So Corey had a cart, my cousin had a cart, and I had a cart. And then eventually Casey came up and raced with us, and he had a cart. And, right off the bat, I mean, Corey was better than me, and he was better than my cousin. And, of course, he moved into Bandoleros, and then he moved into Legends, and worked his way up to the limited late models to a super, and got his deal with ARCA. Actually ran an ARCA race for Kevin Harvick for KHI. So I mean, I was there for a good part of the early stage, and then I came back around when he got the deal with Biaggi to run the 98. And that was not a good stint. That was a tough time. Those 6 races put a bad taste in his mouth, probably put a bad taste in everybody's mouth that was looking at him. And then when he got his chance at BK, it was kind of like, all right, you're just gonna be honest, because I'm a real person. He was in a piece of shit equipment. He was in old equipment, and it was hard to go out there and watch him have so much bad luck, and to go on Twitter and to see people saying he didn't deserve a cup ride, everything like that. Because from the outside looking in, a lot of people feel like that these cars that show up to the racetrack are equal. You can show up with a Ford body. You can show up with a Ford motor. The biggest NASCAR fan of that specific team doesn't know that it's 2020, but that chassis is a Mark Martin chassis from 2006. It's just got updates.
Yeah.
They don't know that, oh, well, it's a Roush Yates motor, or that's a Hendrick motor. But I mean, like, we have engine plans. You have to spin to get the best of the best. So it's like the cars are built to be safe, and in a spec, nobody's cheating, but you got to pay to play.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's
like,
something.
Me and you, all of us, we can't put a car together, come up with 100,000, all of us together, and say, hey, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna go. Let's buy a truck tomorrow, Ryan. We're gonna put you in the truck. We put 100,000 together, and y'all expectations of me is we're all gonna go out there and watch you put this thing on the pole. We go out there and we qualified. If it was a qualifying race and they take 36 trucks, we qualify 38. We're going home. We're all scratching our head trying to figure out, well, why didn't we make the race? Our chassis is heavy. It's old. We don't have the motor. We don't have the people. But the outside world doesn't see that. They're just like, oh my God, that team didn't make the race.
Yeah.
That kid Ryan sucks.
Now, do you think with the next gen car, do you think that's actually going to help Corey show his skill set a little bit more, like they're all saying and hyping it up to be? Like, do you think we'll start seeing maybe some like top 20, top 15 runs out of him?
I hope so. I mean, I'd like to see it bridge the gap in the competition. I mean, do I think that this new car is going to have them run with Gibbs and have Hendrick and, with Penske and everybody like that? I feel like everybody's going to be exactly where they've been, but certain teams are going to move forward 2-3 spots, and that's going to go a long way. I mean, like, if you look at Corey the last 2 days in this next gen test, he was 6th the first day. He was 10th yesterday. That is great compared to where I thought in my head he was going to be. So I'm ecstatic. I wrote him and I said, that's great. We're testing at those, and we're placing that at test. Let's turn those into finishes for next year. Because I mean, like, Corey, that's my blood brother. So I mean, I'm going to root for him no matter what team I'm at. I want to see him do good.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I can't wait to see. I hope that I'm a big Corey. I like Corey LaJoy. He's been a favorite driver of mine a little bit. And funny thing about Corey LaJoy is, since we were talking about older teams and stuff that he's ran, he actually raced at one of my local tracks back in 2012 in the K&N Pro Series. He raced up at Clearfield, Pennsylvania. So that's kind of cool. That's a cool connection too.
Oh yeah, he killed that race car. We wrecked trying to race Moffitt. It was like a macho, and yeah, that's not a 2-lane racetrack. And Corey will tell you, I went in on the outside. He didn't lift. I didn't lift, and I hit the guardrail.
Yeah, that's my home track. It's about 5 minutes away from where I live.
That's the age-old thing from Ayrton Senna. If there's a gap and you don't go for it, you're not a race car driver anymore. So, I mean, the kid's got it, but obviously that you've grown up with him. You're right there in the same. You got a lot of passion for this sport. I think we've seen that through your interview today. But getting back towards you and kind of outside of the track, I know you had said something about having reduced family time with practices and stuff going away. You've had a little bit more of that. What is your life outside as just Mr. Mingo, not Chase Elliott's Haulin driver?
Life outside is just it's family time. It's a lot of family time. Got a remedy. We come up here and we bowl on Wednesdays and maybe go out to dinner during the week. But I mean, life is just really, really laid back. Like today, when you text me, when you wrote me this morning on Twitter, like I was on my way fishing. Like, so I'm doing things that I've always done, but it's just like I have more time now to do them because it's not just all on me. Like you actually have another hauler driver to help you out compared to if it was just me. In a way, like I wouldn't have no life. And if the schedule wasn't the way that it has been this year, along with having a co-driver, I'd be at home in the bed. We would have had to do this interview on Tuesday because I would have been off.
Well, I mean, we're definitely glad that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Nathan, you had a question before I continue.
One last one for me. It's you mentioned your shoe game. I gotta know, like, what's your all-time favorite pair?
Man,
it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's tough, man. Like if you follow me, I don't know how many pairs of shoes I have. It's that bad. It is seriously that bad. But if you're a Jordan fan, then I'm pretty sure you got the hat on and stuff like that. You know what the Lightning 4s are? Those yellow and black and white 4s? Those are going with me. Those are going with me to Texas this week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Like, I'm a UNC 11 guy. That's my all-time favorite pair, so.
My all-time favorite Jordan is probably the Great 5s. Not the black ones, not the alternates, but just the Great 5s. But my favorite number, I used to be 5, now I'm leaning towards 6s. Like, I just love 6s. Okay. I don't care what color he throws on them. If it's a 6, it's mine.
Yeah, like, I'm the same way with 4s. Like, I got to have 4s.
Yeah, Corey likes 1s. Corey likes 1s, and I actually got him the original Shadows. The Shadow 1. So we have those together. We got the Mochas together. I'm trying to get him to give Kurt Busch and Joe Graff a run for their money.
Yeah. I mean, you can never go wrong with shoes. It's just the only thing that hurts is your wallet.
Tell me about it, man. I was gonna go buy a pair of the Union 4s today, and I just had to just ask myself, like, okay, you're going to Texas. You know you're going to have time if you leave tomorrow to, go out to Texas and shop. Because, I mean, I don't care what state or city we're in. If I got free time, I'm going to the nearest mall. And I'm going to bring back a pair of shoes. They know that.
Yeah.
Man, I hope you got a big closet for all that stuff. You might have a whole bedroom full of them.
Oh, we running out of space, but we're okay. My fiance, she doesn't mind. She doesn't mind. She got to keep her own closet, so I ain't got that far yet.
Hey, she probably don't mind if you the freshest hauler driver out there. She probably like it. She probably like the kicks.
Oh yeah, she likes kicks. But I want to ask you guys something.
What's that?
I want to know what do you guys think of the Harvick Elliott? Like, what was running through y'all's mind?
This is the fun part.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about this right before you got on. So go ahead, guys.
Preface: we weren't going to bring any of this up because we didn't want to, get in kind of a entanglement here. Alex, you go first.
Well, I mean, let's just be real. Chase, he pulled kind of a dipshit move at Bristol, in my opinion. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think him coming out of the pits at Bristol on new tires and holding Harvick up was kind of a shitty thing to do. Now, to preface, I've been in race control and a flagman at short tracks all over the place. So I kind of hold myself a little bit more elite when it comes to this kind of stuff, which is probably a bad thing, but I can't get behind Chase coming out of the pits and doing that. That was really rude to me, and I would have been very mad if I was Kevin Harvick. Now, the Kevin Harvick stuff on Sunday, I still don't know if it was an actual payback thing, because it seemed like he could have not, he could have not, he could have not meant to do that, and he just accidentally got caught up in the retaliation. I hope it's over. I don't think it is over.
No,
Yeah.
it's definitely not over.
Yeah, did you see his interview after on NBC? He's like, I think they asked, "Is this over?" And he just smirks at the camera. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I will say
mean,
that
in so many words.
Go ahead.
Ryan.
In so many words, he basically told y'all as the fans, like, it's not over.
Yeah. Chase's comment, Merry Off Season and Happy Christmas. I gotta say that's probably quote of the year 2021 so far.
Well, I mean, it was in my eyes, not just saying it because he's my guy, but I mean, like, in my eyes, it was classical. It was like, hey, well, you can show up at these next couple races, and race for wins, but I mean, honestly, you're not racing for anything because your organization now doesn't even have a car in the chase. So, whatever. But I'm hoping that Harvick being a champion in the Xfinity Series, being a owner's champion in the Camping World Trucks, and being a champion in the Cup Series, I'm hoping that he'll just race us clean. Like, you don't have to like us, but if we're not putting it on your door this weekend in Texas, you don't have to put it on our door. I get it. Like, it's frustrating, but in defense, he ran us up the hill in desperation at Bristol and cut our left front.
We're gonna have to
This is where
disagree
y'all are
there.
gonna fight.
We're gonna have to disagree there.
All right, so who's up next, Jared? You're next.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Alex on that. I mean, I was at the Bristol race, and the group that I was with, like, we all saw, like, we saw Chase just zoom off pit road and try to find that 4 car, and then I'm like, he's not moving any positions after he like, all these fresh tires holding them up. I'm like, I get that, like, you've seen so many instances in the past couple of years. You had like the Logano, and even like Logano last year at Bristol holding up Kyle Busch and kind of letting Harvick get the win, and then like the Ross Chastain thing at Atlanta. So, like, it's kind of, you kind of saw that coming there. But I think, you go into the Roval. I knew Harvick wasn't going to do anything going into Las Vegas or Texas, or not Talladega, just because that would be kind of pointless to do something that early. And like, I was kind of expecting something to happen at the Roval. But what I was saying earlier on the show is, like, I feel like if he really wanted to junk the 9 car at the Roval, he would have Matt Kenseth it and just absolutely turn him into the wall and ruin his day that way. Because obviously he just made the 9 car a little bit better, because as soon as Chase got out there, he's like, oh, he's like the fastest car on the track, and ends up finishing 12th. So if he really wanted to wreck him, he did an absolutely terrible job for the veteran driver that Harvick is. And I'll just kind of go along. I don't think it's really over, because Martinsville is still coming up, and I could see something where I don't think he'll junk him, but I could also see him, maybe slowing down a bit and get in the way if it comes down to it, or I don't know. Like, but then again, like you were saying, I'm hoping he just kind of is just chill on a champion. But I'll also say, like, I'm loving this feud because my guy is not involved in a feud for once, so I'm really enjoying seeing someone else get harassed up.
KB.
Yep.
Hey, man. Yeah. Kyle. I mean, right now, everybody at Gibbs is sitting pretty because none of them are in a beef, and 3 out of 4 are literally, like, killing it so far in the chase. So, I mean, yeah, we've got 2 teammates that's not in the chase, but it's not their job to just get out there and basically be our protectors. I mean, we have to execute on pit road, and Chase has got to execute behind the wheel, and Allen is going to give it everything he's got. And I mean, like, one thing, like Chase said on TV, the 9 team doesn't have no quit. Like, we're here to win races, we're here to win championships, and I mean, adversity sometimes is just a part of it. But I'm hoping that it's over. But I'm not the guy that's strapping in to, I'm not putting my helmet on, so I can't really say what's what. But I know it's been a mixture of. It's been odd for me because you might have fans that's like, woo, love that truck, like wanting to honk their horns, and then you have some that's like giving you the finger when you're coming out the racetrack, and it's like, this is extremely awkward. Like, when we were coming back from Vegas, we stopped at a Love's, like maybe like an hour and a half away from our shop, and some guy walked up to the side of my truck and I was going upstairs to check on the Vegas cars, and he was like, F Chase Elliott. And I'm like, and I looked down from the top and I see that he had a Subway sandwich in his hand, and I'm like, you gotta be a Harvick fan. And he was like, Harvick would have took his helmet off. That would have been that kid's ass, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, have a good one, man. And then like 2 seconds later, he was like, well, I mean, I'm just saying, do you mind if I come in your trailer and look around? I'm like, you just now said F my guy. Have a great one. Like, enjoy your sandwich, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, like I said, we're there to win races, we're there to win championships. So all eyes on Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I like both the guys, so I wasn't sure about Bristol. Like, I think the first part, that's racing, Harvick kind of slid up, and that was that. I mean, I wasn't like a huge fan of what Chase did at Bristol. I wasn't a huge fan of what Harvick did last week. So I don't know if there was like a clear winner out of the whole thing, but like, I do hope it's over, because I think, you know, they're both guys I enjoy seeing do well, and I don't want the beef to take away from the season.
Yeah, I mean, the feud's good right now for the sport. It's good for TV ratings. I mean, think about it. Nobody really has a beef. Like he said, this guy KB's been relatively silent this year. Nobody's beefing with Logano. So, I mean, the sport needed a rivalry. It needed a fresh rivalry. So, you know, that's great, but I don't want us to lose out on a potential back-to-back championships racing with Harvick that, you know, he's a great race car driver, but, you know, Harvick's only got but so many years. But, I mean, he can still get the job done. That's the thing about it. Like, it's not like he doesn't deserve to be at Stewart-Haas for as many years as he wants to drive. I mean, if he wants to do it and he's competitive and the money's there, do it. But don't be one of those guys that's just literally, hey, Rodney, we're just not even worried about where we run at this weekend. We're just gonna junk the fucking 9 every time we see him. Like, no.
Yeah.
No. Guys at both body shops and shops work too hard. They're putting way too many hours into these cars to just have somebody go out there that's just completely upset. So I hope that it's over, but I'm like you guys, man. We'll see what happens.
My biggest beef with it, so I love stirring the pot on Twitter. Whatever fan base is pissed off, I'll go after him. I don't care. I'm a Blaney fan, and I'll go after my own fan base if I have to. My biggest beef with it wasn't necessarily each of the incidents, because I was kind of poking fun at the Chase fans after Harvick kind of dumped him, but was the bumper cover. Man, that got me riled up. It was hanging off for 10 laps. We saw Chase driving hard, trying to get it to wiggle off. I had an issue with that. The funniest part of this whole goddamn thing was Harvick seeing Chase in his mirror and crashing. Oh, we lost him.
Oh, no.
He was sick of hearing you.
Rage quit. Yeah.
He said we don't like your conspiracy theories.
He's like, I don't like this. I don't like this theory. I'm done.
Damn it.
Colton says one word, man.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
He's like, oh, too much beef. I'm out.
In here.
Yeah, we got to get Colton's the one in charge this time, so.
There we go.
Sure. That's just so funny, Ira. That's so funny.
Oh, he's back. I thought you just rage quit. I thought you just like, fuck this guy. Yeah.
Nah, my iPhone, man.
But the funniest part was Harvick seeing Chase in his mirror and driving right in the wall. It's like he just forgot to turn left. I even shared a meme.
Controller disconnecting, man.
Yeah, the controller disconnecting. I don't know. I don't think we see any more retaliation as far as junking race cars. I do think if Chase is close to a cutoff spot at Martinsville or fighting for the championship at Phoenix, if he gets behind Harvick, either for position or if Harvick's slapped down, I don't think he just waves that 9 by.
No,
that's where I think it comes in.
Yeah, for sure.
No, we're not getting anything. Like, we're gonna have to muscle it. Like, we could both literally have the worst day and both be P20th. But if we need that 1 point, even if Harvick knows that we have a better car, Harvick probably will run our line because it's going to put dirty air on our nose. We don't expect a favor from the 4. We don't expect a favor from anybody. Like, we just got to go out there and we just got to race.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good way of thinking about it. Just run your race and not worry about what everyone else is doing. Do what you got to do. Try not to wad the thing up.
Yeah, I think with Kevin's experience, I would like to think that he's not going to make it more of an issue because you are messing with the most popular driver's fan base, and that's just not a good look. Because like you saw with like Kyle Busch at Darlington the week after. Like
Oh yeah.
like he spun him, but like he said he didn't mean to. But like at least you saw like Kyle Busch like quickly try to apologize and everything, and even say it on air and everything, like trying to save his ass about that. So I think maybe if with Harvick's, like I said, with Harvick's experience, maybe he'll like know like, all right, we did what we needed to do, and we might just be a little bit more. But I think just messing with that type of fan base or whatever is just not a good look for you, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
that's what I kind of.
You care about the fans, but I mean, but then you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, because if it was up to them, I mean, you know, Earnhardt Sr. would have won every single race from every season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Mark Martin would have won a championship. It was up to the fans. So,
Yeah.
you know, they matter, but then they don't matter. You know, if they boo you, cool. You still gonna go out there and try to win. Just because they boo your guy. I mean, I watched them boo your guy one year at Bristol, and I was like, golly, like that's gotta suck. And he went out there and he won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the weekend he went out there and completed won the truck race on Thursday, won the Xfinity race Friday, and stock up the Cup race. Like, you don't care. Like, it's great to have fans, but then you don't care because you're always going to have somebody buying your merchandise and cheering you on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so to kind of get away from this topic, since we all kind of gave our 2 cents on this thing here, I just wanted to, my last question I got is like, what's the best thing that's ever happened to you on the road?
Best thing that's ever happened to me on the road. Well, Talladega, I finally got to experience the Boulevard. Been to Talladega many of times, but I finally got to experience the Boulevard. So that's the best thing. I can't go into details because not for the viewers' ears.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys ever feel like going to Talladega, let me know. I'll see if I can get you guys some infield tickets and we'll all go to the Boulevard. You guys will see why I'm saying that's my best road experience. But as far as that, dude, I mean, every weekend for me is a great road experience because when I see the kids, I'm immediately like, okay, I gotta have some hats. I gotta have something to give them. So, you know, it doesn't matter. Like they make my day. That's the best thing about it.
Man. All right. Well, we're gonna have to. We'll keep up with you on Twitter and make sure we hold you to that about going to Talladega. I mean,
Oh yeah.
But thank you again for coming on. We don't want to hold you up too much longer. Did you have anything that you wanted to plug before we signed off?
Oh man, just tell everybody to follow me on Twitter, man, and go 9.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. Well, you have a good night, Ryan, and we will talk with you later.
All right, big dog. Y'all be safe. See y'all, boys.
See you.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh yeah, y'all be easy.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
That was good.
All right.
That's pretty cool.
I'd try to have him on next year at some point too.
Yeah, so we're gonna try and keep the conversation open with Ryan as we go on. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, listening in on the conversation. It was fun. I learned a lot about hauler drivers. I guess you 3 guys did too. Hope you guys listening at home, watching at home, did as well. I will plug him real quick. It's at Ryno Rose 91. That's RYNO ROZAY 91. Both the R's are capitalized. Go follow him on Twitter. Go look at the kicks. Go look at the J's, and have fun. He seemed like a really good dude. Did you guys have anything y'all wanted to add before we sign off tonight?
Oh man, I don't know. Like that was a lot of fun for one night.
Yeah, that was. I'm actually glad that we got that experience with the hauler driver because like how many other people got to say like, hey, I got to get a lot of inside information on a hauler driver and especially like who he drives for. Like that's pretty cool. Seeing getting to hear his side and especially even his life, like personal life growing up, like getting to grow up with Corey LaJoie, like that's something I didn't even know. So that I learned this whole podcast, I was learning something new.
Yeah, I agree. I've always had kind of a soft spot for hauler drivers because when I was a kid, the haulers used to pass through here, and that was kind of the only chance as a kid that I got to see the haulers and get that close to NASCAR. And one of them is Ricky Rudd's hauler driver one year actually opened up the truck and let me see the car. And that's kind of where I started being a little bit of a Ricky Rudd fan. So it was super cool to have him on. Yeah, we definitely got to try to have him on again and keep up with him on Twitter, like you guys said. I'd be more than down to go to Talladega and party with him.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh
awesome.
yeah, we gotta wait. We gotta wait for Nathan. He's got 2 more years before he
It's
can
all right.
come.
It's all right. You know, like I'll catch up to you one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can't wait. Yeah, it was a great conversation. Something I did not know was that, when you think of a 2-time Bliss champion with Randy LaJoie, like he's living in a duplex with other people. That's not something you think about when you think about these race car drivers, albeit he's from the 90s. So he wasn't making nearly as much money, especially not from the Cup side. You don't think about, you think about maybe a single family home with an acre or 2 of land separated, a nice, maybe middle class life, not just, something like that. So it's kind of interesting to see how humble he was with having a duplex himself, and then learning that he had a go-kart track behind his race shop was pretty cool. So if you guys have any other people you want us to go after, I mean, got Jared, Colton, Nathan, myself, and my dad are all always looking for new guests. If you want to be on the show, just let us know at FanFuel Motorsports MSM on Twitter. That's capital F, capital F, capital MSM. And we can also pick you up, put you on the website. Go to our pinned tweet. We've got a little sheet to fill out there that you can send to us with whatever you want for content-wise. You want stories from the track, how to get to the track, what to do when you're at the track, race weekend-wise, hotels, where to stay, where to eat restaurant-wise, all that kind of stuff. And then if you want to talk about your opinions based on points formats, what happened each weekend, race recaps from any series. It doesn't have to be NASCAR. It can be V8 Supercars, MotoGP, or your local track that we've never heard of. That's the kind of content we want. So check out our pinned tweet for that. Send us an email at fanfuelpodcast@gmail.com. And if no one else has anything to add, I think we could say goodnight.
Yep. Hey, keep liking our stuff. Follow all of us on our Twitters. Tweet at us. We always are down to engage with fans. And like Alex basically said, he said it perfectly. Follow FanFuel on Twitter. Go to the website. Check out the website. The website's going to keep getting better. I know the off season's coming up. We've got a lot of big off season plans we're working on, and especially we're going to try to get more content out there for you guys, and hopefully that you guys get content in for us, and we're going to be pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah.
Come hang out with us next Wednesday at 7. If we have any changes due to another guest, we'll let you know as always. And thanks for listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you listen to. And we will see you then. All right. Bye.